Hello, lovely people. Got my coffee here. It's a nice Sunday afternoon. It's quite warm for November. I thought, since I'm restringing my guitar all the time, I might start a series in which just have casual chats with you as I restring the guitar. Today we'll be using just the boring but trusty EJ45s. I'll be restringing the guitar. It's currently tied on using the classical method, using the tie block, but I quite like using guitar beads, so maybe we'll go through how these guitar beads work and just have a bit of a chat as I do it. What do you think? Let's get started. So I'm just gonna take off the guitar strings, nothing too special. Not going to cut it off. Do it the old fashioned slow way. Got my peg winder here, just to speed it up a little. So I thought maybe on this first episode, I'll go over my experiences with instruments and how I landed in choosing to specialize in the classical guitar. So as a kid, I was asked to join the band. Well, I had interest in joining the band, school band, and back then, I still am a very small human being. The teacher asked me what instrument I wanted to play, and I said I wanted to play the saxophone. And they're like, nope, that's unfortunately, your hands are too small to play the saxophone. I'm like, okay. What's the next best instrument? I had no idea, but I picked the trumpet. And so off I went. I started learning the trumpet in the school concert band. And with school concert bands, you will learn how to read music and play a lot of things akin to sort of classical music, I guess. I mean, you're in the ensemble, you have the conductor, you have your weekly section practices. And just looking back at it, I thought it was actually quite positive for me in terms of learning music and learning sounds of many instruments. And I think that really fostered my love for, I guess, ensemble music, classical music. Otherwise, I wouldn't be exposed to that sort of music. And that's, I guess, when I started to really appreciate, what an ensemble had to offer, what a band was, how difficult it was to work together, and appreciate just live music in general, right? And I think at the same time, learning in such a classical or old-fashioned or structured way really influenced me later on in life, because when I stopped playing the instrument at the end of high school. And when I got into uni, I really wanted to play the acoustic or electric guitar. And I went to a store not knowing anything, because everyone said that you can self-teach, self-learn the guitar. I bought an electric guitar with an amp, a little black Ibanez. And I tried to learn playing the guitar using, at that time, horrible tabs online. Back then, tabs were just inaccurate And I could not for the life of me understand or comprehend how the music was written, because I was so used to reading sheet music, which was all structured. I was like, how do you tell the rhythm? How they're just telling you the frets to play. It just didn't make sense. No time signature, no key signature, no notes. I wasn't practicing scales like I did with the trumpet. Just learning pieces of music by myself got very unmotivating and confusing. So I ended up just dropping the electric guitar. I just sat in my room for years and years, untouched basically. And I thought to myself, okay, well, that's my little experiment over with the guitar. I don't know how to learn. And at that time, I really thought, because my hands are really quite small, this isn't really the instrument for me. There was another instrument that I thought was very beautiful back in high school, and I thought I'll give it a try as I moved to Hong Kong and, living by myself. I thought I'll pick up some hobby that would put my use in a more productive way rather than just wasting time watching things or on social media or whatnot. So I decided to pick up the next instrument that I thought was beautiful, which was the deep voice of the cello. I thought the cello sounded beautiful because I heard the Bach First Prelude cello suite, and I just loved how deep and melodic it sounded, with a hint of sorrowfulness. But yeah, the cello was just a very finicky instrument in nature, and I was afraid to knock the soundposts. The bow, it felt right. Getting rosin, wiping it down every time. It was big and bulky and hard to carry to and from lessons all the time. There was just it was an instrument that was quite demanding, and you had to sort of baby it. I feel the guitar is more resistant to rough handling than a cello is. Not to mention how expensive it was to purchase a decent cello, or even just the cello strings itself were just unbelievably expensive. It by no means was a very affordable and an accessible instrument to most people, I think, which is a shame because it does sound good. During the time I was learning the cello, man, my ear is not so good. My intonation, just playing in tune was difficult, and it sort of took away the enjoyment because I'm learning how to play in tune, training my ear. It's a very slow to pick up instrument, and it requires years and years of dedicated practice before you can play anything that's remotely good sounding, which can be a good and bad thing. I mean, the effort you put in is very rewarding once you're able to play advanced repertoire, but I was very impatient, and COVID hit. It was really hard to attend lessons, and during that time I just returned the cello because I was renting it, and I decided, okay, well, maybe we'll just take a bit of a break, assess the situation, and then we will then think about whether we should continue with the cello again or not. I like to do the first string first because then you have several times to tune it. So these are guitar beads. And what happens is that we can avoid the string flicking back onto the guitar, and it creates a nice little tie-off area over here. So the way we do it is, first of all, I've cleaned the fret fingerboard enough from last time, and it doesn't seem to be very dirty, so we don't need to do very much. What we do is we thread it through the end over here. We poke it through the guitar bead. Poke it through another hole, loops around, and then the third hole. So it's a loop to loop to loop. Don't worry, I will zoom in and do one in front of the camera so you can see later on. But there we go. It's tied off. It's fast. It's neat. Stops the string from hitting the guitar. And you've got famous guitarist Kuhi Park. She does it for the bass strings. Maybe because the bass string only has one wrap and she likes the security of the guitar beads. I'm not sure. But these guitar beads, these ones in particular I've used several different guitar beads now just to test them out. This one weighs only 0.2 grams. So in terms of the weight you're adding to the bridge, it's very negligible. Negligible. 0.2 grams. And because you don't have any wrappings around the tie block, you save on the excess string as well. How I like to do it is poke through the hole, and nothing too complicated. I will go underneath, pull it tight, and then give it a few windings until it bites. Let go, and then I can use my peg winder. I've tried different ways of tying off the head here. I think the one wrap underneath, which Brandon Aker sort of shows, and Aquila strings, I think that's just the easiest way. Just wrap under so I can keep the tension so it doesn't loosen. So it stays, well, it gets to tune faster, stretches out faster. The tuner. I wish I had perfect pitch. Okay, it's at E now. We'll just tune it to an F, just a half step to allow it to stretch out. Okay, on to the second string, but before that, let me head towards you guys so I can show you how to tie a guitar bead on properly. Let's go. So this is a guitar bead. You'll notice there's 3 holes over here. So to tie the guitar bead, we thread the string through the bridge and we go through the bottom hole over here. Bottom hole over here. through the bottom hole. Once it's through the bottom hole, we loop back into one of the other holes here. Either one is fine. Loop like this. And then we loop it back on the third hole. So it goes from one hole to the next hole to the next hole. To the next hole, loop it through. See, it's protruding out. We push this underneath the loop so the loop will hold the loose end together. So we pull it tight. See how the loose end is held together by the first loop of string that went over. So that's how you tie a guitar bead. Nice and quick. Second string. So what happens next? Ow. Oh, I'm pretty rough on this guitar. What happens next is after I quit the cello, again I felt the need to learn again. I'm always drawn to playing instruments, I guess. And I decided to pick up something that was much easier. The ukulele. And it was interesting because I consumed a lot of ukulele content. I bought nice ukuleles, but it was really interesting because there was this one book that I bought which was classical pieces for the ukulele, and reading the sheet music just made sense. It was familiar to things that I was doing back when I was younger. It sounded beautiful. And there was this one particular piece that I thought was just amazing. And that was a Carcassi Etude number 7 from Opus 60. And I listened to that again and again thinking, oh my goodness, you know, I would be so happy if I learnt this piece. And the more I dived into classical ukulele repertoire, the more I looked at YouTube videos. And it was hard to find a lot of people teaching classical ukulele. It just seemed very, very casual, you know. It's a relatively niche instrument. But I started to realize that, yeah, classical ukulele sounds good, but there was classical guitar which had more resources. And the Carcassi piece that I wanted to learn on the ukulele, added with the bass notes, it sounded so full and so amazing. And to be quite honest, until that point, I never really thought that classical guitar really existed, you know? That was amazing considering that, you know, I liked classical music, ensemble playing was something used to, but I always just thought about acoustic guitar, percussive fingerstyle, and electric guitar before then. So that was a big oversight for me, but the more I looked at it, I thought, why not learn the classical guitar? And if I know classical guitar, I can play ukulele as well. Why not? Why not? I can do both. I mean, the ukulele was just a simplified guitar, right, with 2 less strings. So I decided I will stop ukulele for a while and pick up the classical guitar by finding a teacher. And let me tell you, having a classical guitar teacher guide me, showing where to put my hands, and a classical teacher that had smaller hands than me, surprisingly, instilled a lot of confidence in me. It was the right way to start learning an instrument, because I needed that structure. I was used to being told how to do things. I like the idea that there's an optimal way of doing things, that, you know, and just me figuring it by myself would just be a waste of my time, considering, you know, I'm an adult now, I have a busy schedule, I don't have unlimited time, I wanted to keep my social life, and I just wanted to get good as quick as possible, so getting a classical guitar teacher was a no-brainer. And then ever since then, just making the decision to learn classical guitar turned out to be one of the best choices. You know, I finally found an instrument that sort of clicked with me. I'd love to go back to trumpet someday, but like the embouchure, the muscles in your mouth, if you don't practice for even a week for trumpet, it's very demanding. You lose a lot. It requires a lot of maintenance. I mean, I think there was a common saying that the trumpet is one of the most jealous instruments. If you don't play it, like you certainly do feel the difference. So I think maybe at some point later in my life I'll pick it up again, but not right now. Not right now. The classical guitar, it's easy to find, easy to pick up, portable, sounds good. And one of the things I thought to myself was, okay, I played the trumpet and it requires a group to play. It's not exactly a solo instrument. I wanted to try a solo instrument. So I thought maybe the cello at first, but still a cello is still not quite a solo instrument, is it? It sort of shines the most in ensembles, in quartets, in orchestras. I do think that a good solo instrument is an instrument that is polyphonic. And what polyphonic instruments are there, you know? Piano, guitar, I don't know. Yeah, fair few other polyphonic instruments, but guitar seems to be the most played, the most easily accessible, the one that I could maybe find in someone's home, pick up and go at it. And I just love the deep, mellow sound of it. I mean, I was drawn to the cello because of this deep, you know, it's not quite sorrowful, but melancholy sound. And, you know, the classical guitar is fairly low in the bass as well, you know, it's not a very shrill instrument. So it actually was the right instrument for me all along. I just took some time to find it, meandering through all these different other paths until I worked out, okay, this is the instrument that I've been looking to play. But anyway, so For those of you guys that are watching, are you all guitarists? How did you decide to play the guitar? Or you don't play the guitar, do you play some other instrument? I'll be interested in knowing how you ended up picking the instrument that you currently play. It's very fascinating to hear people's backstory and choices and preferences, because you know there's no best instrument and the world would be boring if it was all just the same sounding. We should be celebrating that there's so many different types of varieties of sounds and combinations and preferences and differences between all of us, and that's what makes the instrument even more special, you know, and more unique. Imagine if the guitar was the only instrument in the world. That would be very boring. So yeah, maybe you guys can let me know, how did you start playing the instrument of your choice? Anyway, I'll continue stringing this instrument along, and maybe I'll see you next time. Bye.